Hello, thank you everyone for inviting me today. My name is Karolína Poliaková and I'd like to talk to you about trust in science. First, let me introduce myself briefly. I don't have an elaborate slide about my heritage. I come from Prague. I've lived there almost my whole life with several breaks, so it's a pretty short story. I'm doing PR for Artificial Intelligence Research Center at Czech Technical University, and I've been doing it for over 5 years, working with researchers, promoting robots. It's really fun, but at one point I realized that I actually like learning about how to better do science communication than actually doing it. I wanted to understand why people have scientific beliefs, why some people don't trust science, and that's why I started doing PhD at Charles University. This led me actually to Columbia, where I'm currently doing 1 year abroad on a Fulbright scholarship. I look at the intersection of science communication and policymaking. Normally, I would end here, but one thing that I learned after coming to the US, you have to self-promote yourself. So I put a few pictures on the slide that I'm really proud of, also to kind of give me some courage, because I'm not really comfortable doing public speaking, which is surprising. If you look at some of the pictures, I somehow end up in podcasts and in panel discussions, and I'm always very scared of that, but it somehow turns out all right. But I have to say that one of the scariest thing I ever did was talking about my work to a classroom of high schoolers. I think if you ever did that, there's nothing more scary because they don't let you get away with anything. One thing I would mention on this slide is the picture on the top middle. Together with my colleague, we started a science communication course for master student at Charles University. It is the first of its kind in the Czech Republic, so I'm really proud of that. And hiding in the first row, you can see Daniel Stach, which is probably one of the most popular TV hosts in the Czech Republic, who does interviews with Nobel Prize winners on prime time on the public broadcasting TV. So now let's get to why we're here today. I would like to give you some context about Czech science communication landscape. Czech science communication has a long tradition. We have, for example, 2 magazines that are over 100 years old that popularize science. We also have a lot of science fairs. We have tons of professional networks. We are now planning another science communication conference. So you could say that the business is blooming there. However, the research on science communication is pretty much non-existent. So on the academic level, this topic is not being discussed as much. And that's what we are trying to change now, together with some of my colleagues from Charles University. We did a focus group with science communicators like journalists and communicating scientists, and we are trying to get the research published to kind of establish that science communication research in Czech Republic is something that we want to focus on. And luckily, we are doing really well. We will have a paper published about verification methods in science journalism. We have that course that I mentioned, and we also became part of a really big project about trust in science. The project is a really giant study of 67 countries. About 70,000 people responded to the survey, and the topic was trust in science and science-related populism. It can be considered probably the largest post-COVID study on the topic of trust in science. So we are really happy that our small country is represented there to put ourselves on the map as well. And the goal of the study was to map the correlates of trust and populism. I will go more into detail now. But before, if we talk about trust, it seems like a word that everyone uses, but there's actually plenty of definitions. For example, if you think about your colleague, would you trust them with your money, your dog, your child, telling them your secret? There's various levels of trust and what it means to different people. So in our research, the trustworthiness is defined using 4 dimensions. Perceived competence, benevolence, integrity, and openness. And we ask people how they view scientists, whether they are open to feedback, whether they see themselves as competent, if they would trust them with making decisions on their behalf, etc. The results are very pleasing and positive. So across different demographics, across different countries, there is a high level of trust in science. On a scale 1 to 5, the average score was 3.62. I put the number for Czech Republic here since this is the topic for today. And the highest trust was in Egypt, India, and Nigeria. This has to be taken with a grain of salt because, for example, in India, alternative medicine, homeopathy, etc., is part of the public healthcare system. So when people trust in science there, it may mean something else than what we mean in Western countries, for example. Since I have 1 minute left, which is okay, surprising, people want researchers to be more involved in policymaking and communicate more about research. It's visualized on this graph. Majority of people really want scientists to be in the room where decisions are being made because they trust them. They believe that they will do what they think is best according to the scientific method. However, they feel that they should communicate more about what they do because this is something that's actually missing. There is some role of politics, but I will skip that for now. And talk a little bit more about different data set that puts like new perspective onto this research. Maybe you've seen in media that people talk about declining trust in science, especially after COVID, that people stopped believing in scientific method, that it's a post-normal world where science, has a different role. Pew Research also published this study where they said, like, yeah, this is the case. Americans don't trust that science is doing as much for society as it should be doing. But when you put it in the context also of their other data sets, the trust in other professions, for example, public school principals, religious leaders, can also be declining over years and is also maybe on lower levels than scientists. So if you think about it, science is not doing that bad, and also there is a declining trust in institutions in general, so it can be connected to that. But as we see from our latest research, trust in scientists is still high and there's hope. That's it.